YouTube vinyl community, Weezer fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we're here today to talk about Weezer's Dusty Gems and Raw Nuggets, Blue Album era B-sides and rarities from that time. This is a Record Store Day exclusive from 2019 on blue marbled vinyl. Wow, look at that, guys. Look at the back. You got the feet on there. Very cool. So this was released as a CD basically in 2010. Individually, and then before that as part of the deluxe edition Blue Album for the 10th anniversary of it in 2004. So to have it on vinyl for the first time is very, very cool. As far as I know, a pretty limited run. I'm not sure how many they made for this thing for Record Store Day, but very nice to have it on vinyl, and it looks really good. I'll show the record in a bit here too, but yeah, for those who don't know, yeah, the Weezer's Blue Album, one of my favorite albums of all time, came out in 1994, and at that time, they had a handful of B-sides that came out, and they've also had, you know, their early demos that got them their record deal. So some of those are around here, and then their B-sides are on here as well. So very cool collection to have on vinyl. It's awesome to hear things like Suzanne and My Eveline on a record. It's kind of strange, but yeah. So let's talk about it. Michael and Carly starts off this thing. It was a song that Rivers wrote about their super fans, Michael and Carly. He kind of wrote this fake story about how they all went to school together when they didn't, but he had enough details there to kind of fill in the gaps and make it sound like they did. But they were the biggest supporters of them. They would bring them food. They were the, you know, I think they starting again. I think they started their fan club, if I remember correctly, or if not, they were a humongous part of it. And they both unfortunately passed away in a automobile accident. But so this song is definitely like a very classic early Weezer song. I love this track. The harmonica on it, the lightly strummed guitar, then it just drops into this crunchy alternative early Weezer sound. You know, it's an incredible song. I like the story about how he gets a hat. The hat was awful rad. He wore it every day. They made the teacher mad. And the hat gets taken away. But just the way that they are so passionate in this song about their friends really transcends. I mean, you can hear this song now, written almost over 25 years ago now, and it's still just as powerful and effective as it was at that time, and even a little bit more sad now because they're gone. Michael and Carly have passed away, but yeah, great opening track. And whenever I would make B-side CDs for my friends back in the day, this was always the one that started it. Whenever I made like a Weezer B-sides disc, Michael and Carly was always the first track on it. So it's great to see that they kind of recaptured that on this as well. Yeah, hell of a song. Suzanne, what can be said more about this thing? It's that classic, sludgy, heavy, you know, not necessarily a waltz time, but it just cranks through in this, like, I don't want to say plodding rhythm, but like, you know, it's definitely just a total 60s inspiration meets 90s grunge. It's amazing. I mean, you got this very influenced, you know, lyrical melody totally from the 60s, but it's meeting this 90s era rock song feel. I love the synthesizers that are on here. The solo is really hot. It's a knockout of a song. It's one of those songs you wish was on the album, but it's so good as a B-side, it stands up on its own, no problem. I actually saw them play this song live one time. It was unbelievable. I finally hear that song live. Easily one of my favorite tracks, and the vocals on that one are just awesome. I love their harmonies on Suzanne. My Eveline, this was a vocal exercise. They were doing a lot of like barbershop quartet stuff at this time behind the scenes to kind of get their vocals really tight. And that's what really set Weezer apart in the early days, was that they can harmonize, but they can have this really grungy rock sound underneath it, this alternative rock as they were calling it, underneath it all, to create a sound that was very them. And not a lot of other bands were doing that. I mean, That Dog would do it with their amazing harmonies too. But yeah, My Eveline's a cool little song on different versions of that, different pressings of that song. I believe it was called Sweet Adeline or something, like in Australia, if memory serves me correctly. Then you get Jamie on here, which is the original DGC Rarities CD mix, and I've got a copy of that somewhere. But that was actually one of the first songs ever released by Weezer, was that version, and I'm pretty sure Jason Cropper's on that one, one of the original guitarists. To double check that, but Yeah, Jamie's a great song. I love referencing Easy Slash and Axl Rose, which the original lyrics are about Kurt Cobain. So it's kind of cool he changed it to Guns N' Roses after Kurt Cobain passed away. Um, I think he did it out of respect, just in case anyone took it like in a weird way. But yeah, again, another song that is super sludgy, super heavy, but great vocals on top. You get the ooh, ooh. Again, I can't sing, so sorry guys. But no one was doing that. Having these like kind of light '60s influenced vocals on top of the really heavy, crunchy stuff really set them apart because you could sing along to a Weezer song, but also really, really rocked. So I think that's definitely what made them original at that time. The rest of side one finishes up with a bunch of live stuff. So, My Name is Jonas, Surf Wax America are both electric live B-sides taped during some of their concerts. And basically, they were doing this to fill out the rest of the CD singles that were coming out at that time. You see, back in the day, kids, when you put out an album, when they put out a single, you'd have B-sides, usually more than one. And that's just a thing they don't do that anymore. You don't get B-sides on singles anymore because no one goes out and buys singles anymore. It's a very rare thing to see some. They still make them, of course, but there were so many variants back then. You'd have like 4 versions of Buddy Holly, 4 versions of Say It Ain't So. You get multiple CD singles of these songs, especially across the world. You have like the UK import, or one from France, or one from Germany. So it was fun to collect these things back in the day because you'd have so many B-sides on these different singles, and you'd create like your whole other album from it. One of these days, I will show off my Weezer collection. I've got a lot. I'm still a Weezer fan, but I was a way bigger Weezer fan from about the age of about 13 to like 24, 25. Yeah, they were my band for a long time. And then side one ends with Jamie and No One Else acoustic, which I've always loved those 2 tracks acoustic. It shows how great they can write songs and how tight they were as performers, even in these early days, to really give you a nice acoustic performance and totally reinvent the song, especially like with Jamie, because that song really is kind of a heavy track, musically, and to hear it acoustic is really nice because it makes the vocals match the acoustic guitar and gives it a singer-songwriter kind of feel. So a whole different dynamic. So to see them play acoustic back then must have been awesome because you get this whole different shift and it kind of reinvents the song. So very nice to hear that. Then you get side 2, which opens up with the 3 tracks from the kitchen tapes, as they were called, because they was recorded in their kitchen at the house they lived in. Undone, a track called Paperface, and Only in Dreams. So 2 of those songs on the Blue album. Paperface was never on the Blue album, but Paperface is one of the most interesting songs they recorded back then, because that's a very Nirvana-sounding song, and they were definitely influenced by Nirvana big time, as everyone was in that time. Then you get Lullaby for Wayne and I Swear It's True, which they call it pre-production recording, so it's probably stuff they did in the studio. It definitely sounds like it. Lullaby for Wayne has always been a song that I thought if it got like a little bit more of a polish, a little bit more of a punch behind it, could have been a really good contender for being on this album. If not that, at least a B-side. I never understood why they didn't finish that one as like a completed track, because instead of putting out all these live tracks for B-sides, Lullaby for Wayne would have been an excellent B-side. I think right up there with Suzanne and My Name is Jonas, Michael and Carly. I can totally see that one being up there. I Swear It's True was a song that lasted for a few years in pre-production form and never got off the ground. It was tried out for the Blue album, it was tried out for Pinkerton, and they would just change it up here and there a little bit, but it was always a really heavy rocking song. It's one of my favorites. The lyrics on it are great. You think I'm crazy, but I swear it's true. I really miss you, girl. Awesome song, and this version is really good too. And then side 2 ends with Say It Ain't So, the original album mix. Before the single came out, on the very early pressings of the Blue album, this is the version that was there. And then subsequent pressings after the single version put the single version of Say It Ain't So on the Blue album. So if you're able to track down an original from 1994, some of the first early pressings, you'll get that song on there, that edition of it. But here's the back cover. We got their feet and the track listing. So very cool to see their feet there. And I'll show you what the record here looks like. So it came with a small little booklet, actually just a page, but great shot of them from the early days. Rivers, Brian, Matt, and Pat. Zoom in there. They look so young. And the back is great too. You got some really nice early day pictures as well up at the top of them playing live, some of the early photo shoots, the garage, and then some nice details about each individual song, which is really cool. And it does have an asterisk next to a couple of the songs here for Jason Cropper playing on. I guess it was just Undone and Paperface and only. Oh, he played on the most of side 2. Okay, yeah, he played on A Lullaby for Wayne and I Swear It's True. That's interesting. But he wasn't on that Jamie from the VGC Rarities. I guess it may have been Brian. I was wrong, but yeah, there's that. And here's what the record looks like, which is really, really nice. It's just a real classy blue marble. You're not going to see it too well. Some of the marbling up top there. So this side 1 has a light blue label. Side 2 has a black label, which is really cool. Well, the blue on here is just really, really sharp. Digging that a lot. And it sounds great. You know, the pressing of it is actually really well done. So like I said, I've been a Weezer fan for a very long time. I got into them when the Green album came out in 2000, 2001, whatever that was. And I've been a fan ever since, and I've followed them through their many progressions, many eras, many ups and downs, as a band does. I mean, they've been a band for, what, it's 2020 as I'm filming this, so almost, yeah, well over 25 years, something like that. It's crazy that this band has been around for as long as they have now. And they have so many unreleased songs. They should really put out just an anthology. Just put out a whole box set of everything they've ever done unreleased. I think people would really dig that. Or put them out in increments like this. You know, little bits and pieces here and there, just kind of whet people's appetites. But yeah, I really dig this. I've always loved this thing. Yeah, 10 out of 10. You can't go wrong with Weezer's B-sides. They just made some of the best songs ever of their career in the early days. And they still make good music, but this is what we all fell in love with back in the day. This, Pinkerton, their 90s stuff is what everyone got introduced to them with. And even when I was, in high school, and they only had like 3 albums under their belt, this was all you had, was Weezer's Blue album, Pinkerton, and the Green album. Like, that was it. There was only 3 records to choose from, so everything you had to know was the 90s stuff. So that's why, and there was such a long gap in between records between Pinkerton and the Green album. So this was Weezer for a long time. This is how people remembered them for a very long time, until they really struck it big with Beverly Hills and Pork and Beans, and kind of had like a renaissance again in the later 2000s. But and I guess Dope Nose and stuff in the early 2000s. But I can go on and on about this. But anyway, Weezer's Dusty Gem and Raw Nuggets, 10 out of 10. That's it. My name is Giggens. This has been Weezer, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.